Give applause to her. Okay. Thank you very much. And don't forget to be honored our faculty members in the Faculty of Science, Technology, and Education. And don't forget also our beloved students who come here from Industrial Engineering Program, Computer Engineering Program, Biology, Physics, Medical Informatics, and Elementary School Teacher Education. Welcome all of you. In our agenda, the guest lecture in 2025 with the title Faculty Analysis of Educational Data Using Statistics. It's about statistics, right? Okay. Okay. Firstly, let's thank to our God who give us blessing and His mercy so we can attend in this agenda today in the good condition and in the happy situation. Okay, without take more time, I will read some session in this agenda today. The first one is opening, the second one is reciting Holy Quran, the third one is singing Indonesian National Anthem and followed by March Muhammadiyah, and the fourth one is opening speech and followed by the main agenda is lecturing and then the closing. Okay, let's open our agenda today by reciting Basmalah together. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Hopefully this guest lecture runs smoothly without any obstacle. Okay. The second session is reciting Holy Quran that is read by Hardimas Nanda. He is the student of Elementary School Teacher Education from Faculty of Science, Technology, and Education. For Hardimas Nanda, the time is yours.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. A'udzu billahi minasy syaithanir rajim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Ya ayyuhalladzina amanu la yashar qaumun min qaumin asa ayyakunu khairam minhum wala nisa' ayyakunu khairam minhum wala nisa'um min nisa'in ayyakunna khairam minhun wala talmizu anfusakum wala tanabazu bil alqab bi'sa ismul fusuku ba'dal iman wa man lam yatub fa ulaika humudz zalimun. Ya ayyuhalladzina amanu tajtanibu katsiran minadh-dhann Ya ayyuhalladzina amanu tajtanibu katsiran minadh-dhann inna ba'dad-dhanni ithmun wa la tajassasu wa la yaghtab ba'dukum ba'da ayuhibbu ahadukum ayyakula lahma akhihi maytan fakarihtumuh wattaqullah inna الله تواب رحيم يا أيها الناس إنا خلقناكم من ذكر وأنثى وجعلناكم شعوبا وقبائل لتعارفوا إن أكرمكم عند الله أتقاكم إن الله عليم خبير صدق الله العظيم. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you very much for reciting Holy Quran. Hopefully it will make our life getting better and better. Okay, let's going on to our next session, that is singing Indonesia National Anthem and followed by Mars Muhammadiyah that led by Fatiha Faradia. She is the student of Computer Engineering Program of Faculty of Science, Technology and Education. For Fatiha Faradia, please, the time is yours. For audience, please stand up. Okay, thank you much. Thank you very much for your audience. Please have a seat. Okay, go to the next agenda is opening speech that will be delivered by our Dean, the Dean of the Faculty of Science, Technology and Education, Mr. Eko Handoyo. For Mr. Eko Handoyo, the time is yours.
Asyhadu an la ilaha illallah wa asyhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluh. Label Associate Prof Maela Madel Cahigas Ph.D. or Mapua University Filipina. Lecturer, staff and student of Faculty of Science, Technology and Education. Please, let's you express for graduate to Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala for His balance, allowing you to gather at the special guest lecture is today. As the Dean on Faculty of Science, Technology and Education, I warm welcome as Prof Maela Madel Ph.D. and Aspirant and Education Data Analysis from Mapua University, Philippines. She is a academic and research who have made a significant contribution in applying statistical methodologies and affecting education quality. Her presence have brought in her and statement of the global collaboration we strive for experience and knowledge. The theme of the guest lecture analysis education data using static from world of faculty of vision, intelligence science, technology and education innovation. In the digital era, data is not only but also get you understand learning dynamic, measuring contribution effect and design adaptive education strategies. The paper as static from we can from raw data in meaningful that drive institutional progress. To participants, I would get to use the opportunity to learn from an international expert, education, discussion challenge, and modern education, and the last forum, the best speaking stone and building research, collaboration, and sharing best practice and globally. Before closing, I will expand and display graduation to Associate Prof Maya Madel Ph.D. for sharing her experience with you. My thank you also to the organizer commitment for this meticulously participant and the for your experiment. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Eko Handoyo, for your speech.
Yes.
Okay, guys. Hello, everyone. Are you ready? Okay, we will start to the main agenda. This is lecturing. Hello, Dr. Maela Madel Cahigas. Do you hear my voice?
Yes, good morning. I can hear you well.
Okay, good morning, doctor. I'm Rohmat. I'm Dr. Clean friend, doctor. A couple days ago, I sent my regarding for you, my greeting for you. Okay, everyone, before the speaker start to deliver a presentation, let me give quick reminder for you. The first one is please make your mobile phone are on the silent mode. And the second one, please keep and take a note when Dr. Maela Madel Cahigas give the presentation. You can ask after the presentation finish. And the last one, focus and give more attention when the speaker do the presentation. To start the lecturing, let me give a brief introduction about our deluxe speaker today. We are honored to have a very special speaker today. She will share her knowledge and her expertise on how statistics can be used to analyze educational data. a topic that is increasingly relevant to today's digital and data-driven academic world. Okay, she is Dr. Maela Madel Cahigas. Dr. Maela Madel Cahigas is an associate professor at the School of Industrial Engineering and Engineering Management, Mapua, Cognitive Ergonomic Operation Research, and Consumer Behavior. Besides that, so many awards that she achieved that I cannot mention now. She contributed as a journal reviewer at some reputed international journal. Many software skills in statistics, programming, project management, customer relationship management, and others that she has that I cannot mention one by one today. We are truly fortunate to have her today. Okay, without further ado, please join us, Dr. Maela Madel Cahigas. The time is yours. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for your wonderful introduction. And it's very nice to meet everyone here. So I can see from this Zoom earlier that we do have quite a lot of students. So I hope my connection will be pretty clear and stable as we move through
Okay.
this mini lecture. And I'm also going to, as much as possible, keep this enjoyable and relatable so that it won't act like a lecture as is. So let me just share my screen in a while. All right. So I hope my screen is sharing already. And just to also mention my name, you can call me Maela or Maela. Any kinds of pronunciation is okay with me. So for today, we're going to discuss analysis of educational data using statistics. What you might wonder, what are the other types of data that we can utilize using statistics. So I'm going to only focus on one type of educational data right now, but you can utilize all types of data using the tool that I'm going to discuss in a bit as well. But first, before we move on to the specific tool, I guess everyone has a little bit of an idea about what does statistics mean. So statistics simply means the collection or the techniques that we are utilizing to interpret a specific data using mathematical formulations. And in everyday sense, we have already been utilizing statistics. So, for example, if you're currently a student, you are, I'm not sure in Indonesia if it's called as grade weighted average, because here in the Philippines we have grade weighted average. So that's your average every semester or every term. So the average that is being computed is under the statistical technique. So we often utilize statistical on a day-to-day basis. And what is the main importance of statistics? Statistics mainly helps us in making informed and effective decisions. So for example, if your GWA or your grade weighted average, here in the Philippines, by the way, our highest, most of the universities apply a highest score of 1. So if you received 1, then automatically you got 100%, nearly 100% score across all the assessments for one or multiple subjects. So if you receive this one, then you'll immediately know that you were able to perfect almost all of your assessments across all the subjects. So it will definitely help us visualize what kind of data do we have. That's the main power behind statistics. And who utilizes statistics? Apart from us, individual statistics is often utilized by many industry practitioners and in any kinds of field. So for example, this is what we have mentioned earlier, the mean or the average, median or the middle, and then mode. When we say mode, it pertains to the most frequent thing that we often see in the data. So these are a part of the basics behind descriptive statistics. So let me just type it in here. The descriptive statistics. When we say mean, median, mode, we want to describe the group of scores or the set of data. And these descriptive statistics tools can be used by you as a consumer. Why? Because, for example, you often buy products from Shopee, from Lazada, or any kinds of online shopping platforms, let's say Amazon, Shein, and then you can see a lot of stars there. Sometimes, whenever you see stars closer to 5, automatically it will yield to a positive feedback on your end. So that is an example of median mode, or descriptive statistics. For the next one, I'll just mention correlation and regression. So correlation and regression is part of inferential statistics. So this one is under inferential statistics. And when we say inferential statistics, we want to predict something. So for example, how likely is it to rain in your area? Or how likely is it for you to pass the examination? So that's what we are referring to inferential statistics, the inferential statistics tools that we can utilize to correlation. Correlation and regression is commonly used by a lot of users as well, including consumers, psychometrician, academic researcher, and even business analysts. So you can utilize quite a lot of statistical tools, not just in one area. Then let me just clear the drawing so we'll make this very neat as much as possible. For the next one, these first two are the most basic types of statistics, which some of you may have already heard. Now, the latter two pertains to the most advanced type of statistics. So we do have this term multivariate statistics. Multivariate statistics allows us to assess multiple variables and at the same time the cause and effect of those variables. One of the tools under multivariate statistics is called SEM, or structural equation modeling. So in structural equation modeling, you can create a framework, let's say a very difficult framework, and then in the end, you can predict what do you want to foresee for your framework. SEM is commonly used by a lot of academic researchers. That's why whenever you browse Science Direct, Elsevier, and any other publishing platforms, you might see a lot of researchers that utilized SEM tool. But on to the last technique. This is called conjoint analysis. Conjoint analysis is also another type of an advanced statistical tool, and this is going to be our main focus for today's mini lecture. So under conjoint analysis, we want to identify which characteristics do we really like to prioritize whenever you make a decision. And unknowingly, we also perform conjoint analysis. But before I give example, let me just move on to the next slide to share the formal meaning of conjoint analysis. Based on dictionary, conjoint, this one, the term conjoint came from the word joined, together, combined. All of these are synonymous with each other. And if we're going to combine the term conjoint and analysis, we just want to combine a lot of features, a lot of characteristics in order to formulate what do we really want from those combinations. And apart from academic researches, we often utilize conjoint analysis in market research and even behavioral studies. So for example, if you are someone, let's say on a day-to-day basis, you often go to gym, and then whenever you go to gym, you consider the distance. You consider the distance from your home to the gym. You also consider the ventilation area of the gym. And of course, you also consider the price. And apart from this, you also have a lot of factors under the distance. So let's say if the distance is between 0 to 2 kilometers, but be more open. Or sometimes we also stretch our patience. So sometimes we can for to 5 kilometers, or sometimes we also yield from 6 to 10 kilometers and so on. So we do have a lot of options. Another one, let's see, how about for the ventilation? Do we consider a gym with an aircon, AC, so AC means aircon, or do we consider a gym with only fans? And then how about for the price? What if you would like to um, have a specific boxing exercise, and then the fee is, let's say, $5 per session? And then what if in another gym there is a fee of $7 per session, and so on? If you can see, there are a lot of combinations that we can follow through from this example. So some of you might want a gym that is about 3 to 5 kilometers away with aircon, and of course with the cheapest price, so this option. But others might also prefer something that is within 0 to 2 kilometers away from your home, that can only have fans, or with lower price, $5 as well. So this is the purpose of conjoint analysis. We want to identify different kinds of combination across all the decisions of the users or of the consumers. And in the end, we'll come up with the holistic view among all our users. And conjoint analysis is not just limited to educational data. As we have mentioned earlier, we can apply it on our day-to-day basis on businesses and even other types of industry. But for today's lecture, we'll focus on educational data. But how do we perform conjoint analysis, which we're going to discuss today? So I'm going to showcase a software. I hope you also have the software, but in case, we do have a free version and also cracked version for the software. So for the first one, we always outline the key attributes and levels. We generate an orthogonal design, develop the questionnaire, collect the data, and then interpret the results. So we'll go over these step-by-step procedures one at a time. So for the first step, you outline the key attributes and levels. What do we mean by attributes? When we say attributes, it's also similar to the term characteristics, variables, features, aspects, and so on. So it's more of a vague scenario. But when we say levels, we are referring to the specific characteristics, specific variables, so more specific. Going back to our example earlier, we have chosen, for example, distance. So for the distance, we can have options like 0 to 2 kilometers, 3 to 5 kilometers, 6 to 10 kilometers, and so on. The attributes or key attributes pertain to distance, because this is the holistic characteristic of the product or of the service that you want to evaluate. But if we are pertaining to levels, we are referring to the more specific options under the attributes, which are as follows: the 0 to 2 kilometers, 3 to 5 kilometers, and 6 to 10 kilometers, and so on. Now, another question: how many attributes do we want to perform whenever we want to analyze our data? The number of attributes will be very dependent on how many do you want to assess. So there is no specific number. Let's say you should evaluate 4 attributes and then 3 levels. No, as long as you're able to assess all the attributes that you want to assess. But for the levels, there should be a minimum of 2. Why? Because we should have options. So we won't have any kinds of one level, because that is no longer considered a level. So there should be at least 2 for levels, but no limit when it comes to the attributes. All right, so I have prepared a specific educational data which I think a lot of you can relate, especially the students. So even if your program is from the industrial engineering, from the teaching, or from other educational parts or engineering system, you can definitely relate to this educational data because you have been experiencing being a student. So for the attributes, for this specific data, by the way, we want to assess what kind of mode do we want to deliver for our students. So what are the preferences of the students? So the power will be under the students because the students will be our main participants for this type of data. For the attributes, I have um, let's say in the attributes, we have selected 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 types of attributes. Then again, you can expand this if you want to have 8 attributes, 10 attributes, it's totally fine because these attributes might be relevant to the Philippines, but it might not be relevant to Indonesia. So you can replace some attributes, you can also modify some levels. That's totally okay. So in delivery type, what do we mean by this? The delivery of the lesson. So the delivery of the lesson, should it be synchronous? When we say synchronous, it happens such as what's happening right now. So if you're listening at the moment, this is called synchronous learning. Thus, the majority of our students prefer synchronous learning, or would you want to prefer asynchronous learning? When we say asynchronous learning, so I can see that this is a recorded video. So you can also, if the recorded video will be sent out to your emails, then you might be able to review this recorded lesson. That is considered asynchronous learning. But if we're going to combine both synchronous and asynchronous learning, meaning to say, let's say if your schedule in school is Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, if Monday and Wednesday are both synchronous, then Friday can be asynchronous. So that is considered a combination of synchronous and asynchronous learning. Next one, for the template. For the template, we are referring to the template of how should the professors or the lecturers deliver the course requirements. So in weekly style, the topics should be segregated on a weekly basis. For the course outcome style, the topics are segregated on a more holistic sense. So if it's weekly, for example, weekly, first week, second week, third week. For course outcome, it can be every 4 weeks, every 8 weeks, and so on. So it would be very dependent for you. But for the modular style, it's almost similar to the course outcome. It's just that modular style is more focused on the module basis and in a more specific sense. Next one, how about for the term style? What do we mean by term style or the semestral style? We can mention either non-modular or modular. When we say non-modular, the discussion of the professor can be not in a form of groups. If it's modular, the form of discussion can be by group. So for example, if your assessments can be in a form of different types of quizzes, but for different types of topics, that's for non-modular. But if modular, you'll have one type of quiz or one quiz for multiple topics. So non-modular is more specific, while modular is more on a big sense. Another attribute, final requirement. So what do the students like when it comes to their final requirements? So you can also discuss, do you prefer multiple choice exam, essay exam, or do you prefer writing a conference paper? And again, these are just some sorts of levels. You can add more levels. Let's say you want an exam that is more focused on identification. That's totally fine. You can add more levels. And then in our university, in Mapua University, we do have some courses that require Coursera. So Coursera is an online platform where you can learn at your own pace. So some students prefer having may not prefer having a Coursera requirement. Next one, for our sit works and practice sets, some students, do they prefer their assessments to have feedback? At the same time, do they want these practice sets to be a requirement, to be part of their grading system? Or do you not want it at all? So those are just some options. Finally, for the delivery platform means what if we do have an online learning? Do we prefer our online learning via Zoom? So Zoom is what I'm using right now. Or Blackboard Collaborate. This is our partnered learning management system for the university. Or do we want Microsoft Teams? So the answers will be very dependent on the students. Let's say once you have already generated your attributes and levels, you're going to move to the second step, which is to generate your orthogonal design. In generating orthogonal design, you have to have an SPSS software. So let me share a new screen. So this is how the SPSS looks like. So you can also search IBM SPSS software. And then once you already have this software, so there is a free, then once you download it, uh, and then you'll notice the orthogonal design over here, then click generate. Once you click generate, you have to add your factor name. These are pertaining to your attributes, the one that we have mentioned earlier. So let me just copy. Wait a minute. I'll just take a screenshot of the attributes and levels. Alright, so I just took a screenshot of the attributes and levels so it would be easy for us to identify the factor names and also the levels. So factor name, again, that refers to your attributes. So you can just input delivery type, that's our first factor name, delivery underscore type. I would suggest if you have a space, please input underscore because we'll have a coding later on, and unfortunately in codes cannot identify spaces. That's why in order for delivery type to be accounted as one entity, we have to utilize underscore. So the delivery type, and then click add, and then click the delivery type, you'll see define values. In define values, you'll notice the label and then the value. So you'll just input this label or levels, synchronous, asynchronous, and then miss. So you can mention synchronous learning, asynchronous learning, and then mix of synchronous and asynchronous. Next, how about for the value? The value is just similar to how we create dummy variables. So you can just input one pertains to synchronous, two pertains to asynchronous, three pertains to synchronous, and any kinds of value are okay as long as they're chronologically ordered. And then just click continue. After that, just input the rest of your attributes. So next we do have template, and then add. Then click the template, then go through define values. So we have weekly style, course outcome, and then modular style. And then similar to the previous step, you should have a value, nominal value, dummy variable 1, 2, and then 3. Then please click continue. Next one, the factor name is for term style. So for term style, term underscore style, again, if we have spaces, and let's say you just want to utilize term style like this one, it's also fine. There is nothing to worry about when it comes to your factor name. Then click add, then click term underscore style. So then again, we'll define values which are non-modular and modular. Then let's click the value. Since we only have two levels, that will only pertain to 1 and then 2. And then factor name again. For the next factor, we have final requirement, final underscore requirement, and then click add, then click these factor name, and then define values. We have multiple choice, essay, and then conference paper, and then just input values from 1, 2, and then 3. Then click continue. Next one, we have Coursera. So Coursera, click add, then click define values. Do you prefer Coursera or no? Then 1 and then 2. Click continue. For the next factor, we have seat work and practice sets. Seat work and then practice. Click add, and then just locate it below, then click define values. So for the first option, we have required with feedback. For the second option, it's not required. The attribute that's delivered platform, just input delivery platform and then add. If you input a space between the two words, so you just have to add underscore. Click add and then click define values. We have Zoom, Blackboard, and MS Teams. And then the values are 1, 2, and 3 respectively. After inputting all of these attributes and levels, so again, the attributes and levels are very dependent on your current scenario and in your current evaluation. You should reset number seed to 2 million. Resetting the number seed to 2 million means that we are able to generate multiple types of combinations. So that's the purpose of random seed number. But you can also include 10 million, 5 million, and so on, as long as it's a big number. Then click options. In click options, you'll see minimum number of cases to generate. So in this one, if you aren't familiar with any cases, when we say cases, it's the number of combinations that we want to assess. So if you aren't familiar with it just yet, you can input 18 for starters. So again, if you aren't familiar with it, you can input 18, but if you go through with it continuously, you'll be able to adjust the minimum number of cases. But let's say, what if you cannot be familiarized with it as you go through? You can just input number of holdout cases. The holdout allows us to balance the number of combinations that we want to generate for this orthogonal design. So no worries if you input 15, 10, 20, and so on, as long as you have an appropriate hold. So the next question is, what kind of value is the most appropriate for holdout cases? So you'll notice a lot of research papers as well. For example, if your target participants are equivalent to, this is just an example, let's say your target participants are just equivalent to 400, then some research papers or a lot of research papers would recommend you to have holdout cases of 2. So again, this is just an example. But if you are not familiar yet, I would suggest a higher value. So the most common value that you can input is 4 or 5. So again, this will balance out the number of combinations, whether in the end, should they produce 25 combinations, 26, 27. And then please also check the randomly mix with other cases for you to expand the array of your combinations. And then just click continue. Okay, I'll just input the dataset name, conjoint analysis sample, and then please click OK. Okay, once you click OK, you'll have this kind of result, but this is not yet the result. You'll notice the term, a plan is successfully generated with 18 cars. Then let's go back to this SPSS main file. A while ago, we don't have any data behind this one, but right now, we already have the data. So this data pertains to the combinations that we want to assess and we want to deliver for your students or for anyone who is your targeted participants. So let me just copy all of this. In an Excel file. And then I'll just type the R. Then I'll just input the labels. All right, so for this file, again, I just copied our file from the SPSS earlier because we're going to utilize Excel this time for us to easily identify what does this number mean. Because at the moment, we're very unclear how can we interpret these numbers. So we're going to utilize a feature from Excel in order for us to interpret this one. But first, before we interpret these columns, I'm going to mention what does status column mean. So status means that 0 refers to your original combination. A while ago, if you can still remember, we have input a specific case of 18. So we do have a total of 18 0. So these 18 zeros are your original combinations. And then the 4 holdout cases, so those are these 4 values. These are what stabilizes your combination in order for you not to be too consistent with your combinations and not too drastic as well. So it also helps your participants not to feel overwhelmed whenever they answer this type of question here. And then the card, sorry for the messages in the right side. And then for the card, that only refers to how many combinations did we have or generate for this type of data. So we have a total of 22 combinations. So on to the next step, how are we going to interpret 3, 1, 1, 3, and so on? So for the delivery type, 1, a while ago, in our orthogonal design, 1 means synchronous learning. 2 means asynchronous. 3 means mix of these two. So you can just go back to creating the nominal data. Highlight this specific column and then click Control H or just find and replace. And then find what? Click 1, replace with synchronous learning. And then match case, replace all. For 2, that is equivalent to asynchronous learning, replace all. For 3, that is a mix of synchronous and asynchronous learning. And then just click replace all. Next one, for the template, again, as we have mentioned earlier, 1 is for weekly style, 2 is for course outcome, 3 is for modular style. And then we just have to replace this column. 1 is for weekly style, 2 is for course outcome, 3 is for modular style. And then let's proceed with the next column. For the term style, 1 is for non-modular, 2 is for modular, and the next is for the requirement. 1 is for 2 is for edit, 3 is for 1 conference. Now for Coursera, some would want a Coursera, so 1 is for yes, 2 is for no. Next is for the sit work and practice sets. 1 is for required with feedback. 2 is the one that does not require any at all. Finally, for the delivery platform, 1 is for Zoom, 2 is for Blackboard, 3 is for Microsoft Teams. Isn't it better if we have already these nominal types instead of the numerical system? Because in 1 to 3, 3 to 1, and so on, we cannot identify what are the meanings behind it. So next question, what is the purpose of this orthogonal design? Imagine if you have to think on your own what kind of combinations you would want your participants to answer. It can be very tiring, and at the same time, your judgment can be biased because there is a tendency for us to be subjective when it comes to our selection. That's why we want a software not to be subjective, rather to become more rational. So this type of combinations will be delivered to your participants. So for example, if I'm going to select one of the participants, do you prefer this combination? Do you prefer mix of synchronous and asynchronous learning? Do you prefer weekly style, non-modular, conference paper, for final requirement, no Coursera, not required for seat worker practice, and then Zoom if we have on songs. Then you're going to rate it from 1 to 5. How much preference do you have for this combination? Afterward, you're going to rate another combination. Let's say, do you like asynchronous learning, course outcome, modular, multiple choice exam, no Coursera, not required Zoom. So your ratings can be very different because, for example, my ratings, let's say your ratings for the first combination can be 4 out of 5, can be 4 out of 5. And then your ratings for the second combination can be 4 as well. But for your ratings for the third combination can be 5. For the fourth combination, it can be 1, and so on. So this is the thing that we have to utilize once we have an orthogonal design. And then let me just switch to another tab. All right. And then for the orthogonal design that I have shown earlier can be orthogonal. And once you also create your own orthogonal design, we can have different types of orthogonal design. So again, because we want to eliminate subjective basis. So on to the next step, that's the development of the questionnaire. So this is what we have also mentioned earlier, and this is how it looks like. So your questionnaire can be a 5-point Likert scale, 5-point Likert scale, meaning the pointing system can be 1 to 5 only. In conjoint, it's more usual to have 7-point Likert scale. Why? Because in conjoint, since we have a lot of combinations to assess, we also want a range of options for our participants. Okay, so you can distribute your questionnaire via online platforms or even on a face-to-face basis. Now, the next step is to collect the data. By means of collecting the data, who are your targeted participants? So in our example, since this is an educational data, focusing on the preferences of the students, this type of questionnaire should be distributed to the students. Now, for the last step, we're going to interpret the results. Again, let's say we have, for example, we have already the data, the 1 to 7-point data from the participants, or 1 to 5-point system from the participants. How are we going to interpret our results? We're going to still utilize SPSS. So let me share a new screen again. All right, let me go back to this SPSS file. All right, so for example, this is the data that came from your participants. So I have already created a random data. This is just very random from 1 to 7, which was generated by Excel as well, for us to just interpret a random data. So again, this is not a real data. I have inputted C1, C2, C3, C4 up until C22. This means that this is the number of your combination. So this is just the abbreviation starting from that one up until the last combination. And then you're going to highlight it from rows, then transpose it to column. That's why it's already in columns. So the next question is, what are these values? These values are the inputted values from your participant. So for example, if the first participant, if we have a student named Mike, for example, his first rating for combination 1 is 6. So that means his rating for this one is 6 for this first combination. And then his rating for the second combination is 7. So this one is 7. And so on. And then for this example, we have how many participants? Let me just count. So we have a sample of 322 participants. Again, this is just a sample. Then I'll just delete this one and then save the data file name into any kinds of file name. That's totally fine as long as there is no space. If you want a space, just input underscore. Now the next step is for you to create file and then new and then syntax. For the syntax, this is the code that we have mentioned earlier, and this is already a prepared syntax which you can also. So for this syntax, you can only modify the file name and then the file directory for you to run through the conjoint analysis, because this is going to have you run the final results for your conjoint analysis. For conjoint plan, this is the first line. You have to have the saved data of these conjoint combinations, which is this one. So let's say I have saved this as conjoint combination. So let me just remove this initial and then I'll just replace it save as, and then make sure that the folder is also similar to what you have inputted for your coding system. Conjoint underscore combinations. And then let's go back to our syntax. Next one, this conjoint underscore data refers to this data that we have inputted over here. So now how can we export the data from Excel to SPSS? How do we go from Excel to this one? Just click the file, new, and then data. Then file, click open data. And then find the file that you want to import, this one, this is the data, and then click open. And then click OK. And then here we go. You can already save this, save as your data, which is what we have right now, the conjoint underscore data. Let's go back again to the syntax. How about for C1 to C22? This is the number of combinations that we have inputted from this data. So C1 to C22 combination variables. How about for the factors? Factors are the ones that were developed from this part. These are the factor names. Delivery underscore type, template, let me double check if it's correct. Term underscore style, final underscore requirement, Coursera, Sitwork underscore practice, and then delivery platform. So everything should be as is. If there is an uppercase, you should also utilize uppercase. If there is a lowercase, then you should also utilize lowercase. And then next one and final part, the utility. To which kind of file name do you want to save your results? So right now, I have this file name, but you can have a new file name. So I'll just delete the conjoint results, and then automatically it will. And then let's try to click the run. So once you click run, the one with an arrow sign going to the right, you'll be receiving the results already. So no need to manually compute using correlation, regression, and other forms of analysis. But immediately you'll be receiving this type of statistical results. So what do we need from our conjoint analysis? In the conjoint analysis, we have utilities. When we say utilities, these are how much of an importance the levels are. So if you notice, synchronous learning is negative 0.071. It means it's negatively important, meaning to say the students do not prefer synchronous learning. Rather, they prefer the one with a higher value, 0.04. They really want a mix of synchronous and asynchronous learning. So that's how we can interpret this. Another one, let's say for this delivery platform, Zoom is the most preferred delivery platform of the students, followed by Blackboard and MS Teams. But Blackboard and MS Teams are no longer that preferred because they have already incurred negative utilities. So this is the interpretation of your levels. And if you want to double check your answer, you can just add the values. For example, 0.208 plus negative 0.063 plus negative 0.145. The answer for each of the level, once you sum it, it should be equivalent to 0. So that means you were able to create and generate a consistent result. Because you know what are the preferences of your users and you know what don't they like. And then finally, for the importance values, for the importance values, the one with the higher value is the most preferred. So in our sample data, the students highly give importance when it comes to the template. When we say template, we are referring to weekly style, course outcome, and modular style. The way how the lecturers or your professors are going to deliver the topics. Do they want the topics to be stretched on a weekly basis, on a monthly basis, or on a more vague basis? So this is what they want to focus on. It's followed by, so that's the first one, and then it's followed by the delivery platform. So do they want Zoom, Blackboard, MS Teams? The third one is final requirement. Fourth is term style. The fifth one is Coursera requirement. The sixth one is delivery type. And then finally is the sit work or the practice. And then in the end, you can also notice that we do have a correlation value over here. Pearson's correlation represents how strong all of these importance values and utilities are with each other, how strong your final result is. So if it's closer to 1, for example, 0.605, if it's closer to 1 and then positive, that means there is a positive correlation when it comes to your hypothesis results. Next one, for the Kendall's Tau. For the Kendall's Tau, the minimum and as well as Kendall's Tau holdout, the minimum value should be at least 0.7. Since we less than 0.8, perhaps the data is not answered seriously by the students, or perhaps your data is not a valid data. The answer, since we have less than 0.7, we do not have valid data because again, for sample actual responses from our users. That's why most likely the Kendall style for holdouts and the value is definitely less than 0.7. So if you're going to create a real life participant-based questionnaire, most likely you'll be receiving at least 0.7. Hopefully, you'll be receiving at least 0.7. And then for the sigma, it should be less than or equal to 0.05 in order for you to say that there is a statistical difference difference between your hypothesis testing. And so this is the last part of the conjoint analysis, which I hope you can also utilize in your coming research papers or in even in your day-to-day life, whether you would want to check how important it is to assess a specific product or a specific service. So thank you so much everyone for listening.
Okay, hello everyone. Thank you very much, Dr. Maela Madel Cahigas, who present very insightful knowledge that we never know before. Okay, Doctor, thank you very much because you have already
Yes.
present about what is statistic and what is the application until the specific method about the conjoint analysis. It never know before. We never know before about it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much as well,
Yeah.
sir.
I know before about the orthogonal array, but I use Minitab to do that. But I never use SPSS to generate the orthogonal array. Thank you very much for your insight.
Yes,
I
sir.
will
Thank you,
try
sir.
later
I would
in the
have to
future.
research.
Thank you. Okay, maybe it
Okay.
will be complicated for our student, but we will try to review again in the future. No problem. Hello everyone.
Yes, sir.
Now it's your time to ask something. What you want to ask, please raise your hand and I will pick up one by one. Come on. Hello, everyone. If you want to ask something, I will distribute it to Dr. Maela Madel Cahigas. Iya, teman-teman, kalau bahasa Indonesia nggak apa-apa, nanti tak translate ya. Silakan. Oke. Dr. Maela, our student will use Indonesian, but I will translate for you.
Okay, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Perkenalkan, nama saya Tiara Amelia Putri. Saya dari Ph.D kelas C. Saya ingin bertanya mengenai statistika. Apakah dalam sebuah penelitian kuantitatif bisa menggunakan statistika deskriptif saja atau perlu menggunakan statistik induktif juga?
Okay, thank you for your question. Doctor, we have one question for the first one. The application in quantitative method, we use descriptive statistic or inferential statistic. Which one is matching?
Okay, interesting question. So for quantitative methods, it would be very dependent on the goal of your study. Because if, for example, you only want to describe your data, quantitative data, then you would have to utilize descriptive statistics. Let's say you can create frequency table, you can create charts, you can create figures only if you want to describe the data. But if your primary goal is to identify and predict what would be the outcome, then I would suggest utilizing inferential statistics.
Okay, thank you. I will translate for you, for my
Thank
student.
you.
Jadi Mbak, untuk statistik deskriptif itu cocoknya ketika sampean menghitung rata-rata, kemudian median, modus dan sebagainya. Kemudian menghasilkan grafik juga. Nah, itu pakai deskriptif statistik. Tetapi kalau inferensial statistik zaman bisa menggunakan ini metode peramalan. Ya, metode peramalannya itu seperti regresi, terus dan lain sebagainya. Sekarang ada banyak ya metode peramalan kayak moving average dan lain-lain. Nanti bisa dipelajari, tanya ke dosen statistiknya ya. Terima kasih. Okay, thank you very much for your answer, Doctor. Okay, the second question, please. Okay, tadi cewek ya, sekarang cowok dulu. Okay, Mas Pradipta from Industrial Engineering student, please stand up. In English, please.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Let me introduce myself. My name is Pradipta Wijaya dari Industrial Engineering. Saya mau bertanya tentang statistika, tentang conjoint analysis. How does the report suggest interpreting the result of conjoint analysis, and what is the purpose of developing a
Sorry, Doctor.
How does the report suggest interpreting the result of conjoint analysis, and what is the purpose of developing a questionnaire with a 7-point leg scale in the conjoint analysis process? Aku translate bahasa Indonesia. Bagaimana laporan tersebut menyarankan untuk menginterpretasikan hasil analisis conjoint, dan apa tujuan pengembangan kuesioner dengan skala Likert 7 poin dalam proses analisis conjoint ini? Terima kasih.
Do you catch the question, Doctor?
Yes, sir. I've
Okay.
heard of the question.
Okay.
For the importance of conjoint analysis, because imagine if we have, I guess we have at least 100 students right now, which I can see from the screen. Imagine if we can um, identify all the preferences of these 100, at least 100 students. So there can be quite a lot of preferences. So for example, one of you might prefer the first combination that we have showcased earlier. Some of you might prefer the fifth combination, and then there is a ranking behind all of these combinations. Since we do have a lot of data to investigate, the primary importance of conjoint is to really assess what is the common denominator among all your preferences, given that we do have a lot of respondents. So simply put, we want to visualize the data cohesively. And then for the purpose of the questionnaire allows us to convert our non-numerical data to numerical data, because through the questionnaire we can easily identify what are the rankings, the ordinal rankings, and at the same time we can know what would be the primary input of your conjoint analysis.
Oke, Mas Pradipta, saya akan mencoba mentranslate tadi ya. Jadi ini terkait sampel, teman-teman ya. Jadi conjoint analysis ini bisa digunakan dalam sampel yang sangat besar ya. Contohnya di kelas ini kita mengkolek responden ya. Di sini kan ada hampir 300-an mahasiswa. Nah, kalau yang metode biasa, kuesioner biasa, teman-teman bisa pakai metode yang lain. Tapi conjoint ini bisa sampai mengolah data responden lebih dari 100 lebih, kayak gitu teman-teman ya. Kemudian tadi terkait penggunaan softwarenya ya. Jadi orthogonal array ini itu sangat cocok ya untuk merepresentasikan skala Likert ya. Tadi sama kan bilang angka 1 sampai 7 ya. Biasanya kan hanya 1 sampai 3 atau 1 sampai 5 ya. Teman-teman ya, skala Likert ini contohnya kalau di kuesioner itu penilaian buruk, baik, sedang dan sebagainya, teman-teman ya. Skala-skala itu. Nah, itu namanya skala Likert, teman-teman ya. Kayak gitu. Oke, Mas? Oke, terima kasih. For the next question, I will open it again. Bentar Mas, cewek dulu. Oke, the girl. Please mention your name and what's your program study. Once again, doctor, is it okay?
Yes, sure,
Hello,
sure, sir, no
Miss.
problem.
Okay.
My name is Anandika Dini Pariska, a second semester student from Class B of the Primary Teacher Education Program. Thank you for this valuable opportunity. I would like to ask, with the rise of adaptive learning platform, how do we ensure that the statistical model used in AI system do not perpetuate educational inequality? Thank you, Miss.
Okay.
Mhm.
Good question.
Alright.
It's
Yes,
related to
good question.
our era.
Yes, very interesting one. So the input of statistical analysis has already evolved from the traditional sense to the AI or the digital sense because previously we're very used to manual computation for statistics. If you've already tried computing even for the most simple correlation, it's very difficult to do so. The formula is simple, but the computation itself is taxing, especially if you have a lot of variables. So from the manual computation, we have, I guess it's safe to say that we have already adapted to the digital or the AI sense because we already have a lot of software to use. So for example, sir has already mentioned Minitab. We can utilize Minitab to perform a lot of statistical techniques. I have also utilized SPSS software earlier, and then we can also utilize other programming techniques, but it's more on the advanced sense that we can apply AI. Let's say programming tools like Java, script, most especially Python, you can definitely utilize that one. So we have definitely been evolved into AI generated in terms of statistics instead of utilizing the manual and traditional sense.
Okay, thank you for your answer. Jadi penggunaan AI dan manual itu sama bagusnya. Tapi ketika teman-teman menggunakan AI, maka dia skopnya bakalan lebih luas. Contoh, ya, kalau manual perhitungan variabel yang dilibatkan itu bakalan terbatas teman-teman ya, karena kita menghitung secara manual. Tapi kita kalau menggunakan AI ya, dengan menggunakan bantuan bahasa pemrograman seperti Java, kemudian Python. Saya juga dulu menggunakan R Studio untuk mengolah data statistik. Itu dia cakupannya bisa sangat luas. Jadi powernya juga bisa lebih tinggi untuk mengolah dan merepresentasikan hasil datanya. Gitu ya Mbak ya. Oke. Thank you very much, Doctor. It's very clear for our student.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Okay. Which minute I will read the notulency of the resume of our agenda today. Mr. Ainul Yakin, have you already sent to me? Okay. Wait a minute, everyone. Okay, everyone, the main idea of this case lecture. No, we already closed the session. Yes, maybe later in the future. Next, okay, next case lecture. Okay, okay, everyone, it's okay if we close our program and there is no question again. Boleh nggak kita menutup acara ini, kita nggak menerima pertanyaan lagi, ya, karena udah jamnya ya. Oke, teman-teman ya. Okay, I will summarize our meeting today. We have already learned from Dr. Maela Madel Cahigas about what is statistic, what is the application of statistic, and what statistic for. Maybe in the future, it will use for you. It will be beneficial for you, for your job, for your research, and others. Maybe it have positive impact for your life. Thank you very much, Doctor. Before we close our meeting, we have something for you. it is certificate appreciation for your presentation. Please, the operator. Open the screen of certificate for Dr. Maela Madel Cahigas. Okay, wait a minute. Yeah. Sorry, doctor. There is a problem in our system.
No worries, it's fine.
Okay, thank you. Hopefully, this is not the last. We will do collaboration like this. Maybe in the future we do join research and join education like this, guest lecture, and serve in social community.
Yes, I hope we can also invite you here.
Okay.
Last time we had an international symposium, so we have also invited some international speakers. So perhaps if we can also continue with this kind of collaboration, that would be very, very
Okay,
great.
doctor. Thank you for your invitation. I will join later.
Thank you.
Wait a minute. Okay, doctor, this is certificate for you from us, from University of Muhammadiyah Lamongan, exactly from our faculty of Science, Technology, and Education. You are a speaker today, as the live speaker, as a special speaker for us. We are fortunate to get you today. Thank you very much, doctor.
Thank you. Thank you very much for inviting me as well.
Okay. Hello everyone, take picture. Let's take picture together in the screen. Okay? Oh, we already take picture, doctor. Thank you very much for your time. You leave the Zoom, and I will close this event today, and hopefully we can meet in another occasion, in another opportunity, in the better future. Thank you very much. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. See you everyone.
Thank you.
Give applause to us. Foto bersama nggak, teman-teman?
Halo, assalamualaikum. Nak ganteng, anak cantik, jangan pulang dulu, foto dulu bareng-bareng.